I've been here for, well, since May. And in a very short time, I have dove in pretty deep into Edmonds and engaged in the various organizations around town. The most important point here is why. Why am I and my wife engaged in Edmonds in such a short period of time? Our interest in being engaged in this community is more personal. It has to do with the fact that this is the first time in my life that I have actually been able to live and work in the same community. And it's really as simple as that, but it's meaningful to me. We're very familiar with Edmonds. We've been visiting over the years, and we really fell in love with the charm of this place. The waterfront, the walkability, the core of the downtown, the character that it really has, but also the manageable and definable community that's here. We consider this our forever home, so we're really trying to get as engaged as possible. There is a parallel. I am an architect. I have an architecture office here in Edmonds. Many of my projects, like Port of Edmonds, are community-based projects. What I've learned as an architect over 40 years, the more community engagement that we bring into the process, the better the project is, and ultimately strengthens the community. This is a project in the DC area, right across the river in Arlington, Virginia, that started 20 years ago as a kind of blight area. It's called Columbia Pike. And there was a great interest in revitalizing the Pike. The challenge was to revitalize it, but in a way that worked for the community, the stakeholders, the residents, the business owners, because if it didn't work for them, it wasn't going to succeed. I opened an architect's office, open to the public, right on the sidewalk on Columbia Pike. I had open hours at night and weekends because people were working during the day. We invited neighbors to come in and speak with us. They came in, we had easels, they were drawing. They were giving us ideas about what was important to them. We were trying to figure out, what does success mean? How do we revitalize this area that works for them? These were some of the dreams that we all developed together. These are really architects' renderings, but they were inspired by the community. And we even mapped out how the Pike would be envisioned in the future. And today, 20 years later, this is what the Pike looks like. And it's inspired and it's bustling. And today it's considered one of the success stories in what we call form-based code. This is Navy Pier in Chicago that I worked on when I was a very young architect. We won this in an international competition. And day one, they said, okay, yeah, you won the project, but we want Navy Pier to capture the heartbeat of Chicago. And we said, oh, fantastic. That's a dream for an architect. But what does that mean? Instead of us defining what it means ourselves, we had public meetings and workshops, what we call charrettes, which are workshops, not just talk, where we're sketching ideas, what things are important to the public. So we led a public engagement process where Chicagoans defined, what does the heartbeat of Chicago mean? And as a result, you may be familiar with Navy Pier. It's a place where Chicagoans go to enjoy. Before this, it was an eyesore. I lived there. It was a place that was a blight on the waterfront. And it became a family-focused place to enjoy. This is the House of Sweden in Washington, D.C. This is the Swedish Embassy. This is another story of community engagement. We had many different communities. We had the Swedish government. We had Swedish residents of D.C. that were very interested in this. We had Georgetown residents, Old Georgetown Review Board. We had federal agencies. We had the District of Columbia government, all communities that we had to bring together. And the goal here from the Swedish government was, we want the building design to express life in Sweden. And I thought, that's another great vision. But I'm not Swedish, so help me understand what that is. And we discovered, and many of you may know, water is a central theme. In Sweden, the site that they chose was perfect because it's right on the Potomac River at the confluence of Rock Creek. So it has water all around it. Here the point was working with a lot of different community interests and stakeholders. I think the success of the project was the Swedes are happy that it represents life in Sweden, but it also satisfies all the other stakeholders' concerns. And the only way that we could have gotten there was community engagement, stakeholder engagement, many, many discussions about what it means to them. And this is a special project to me. This is an underserved community in Northeast DC. The project was a multi-purpose / athletic building for a public charter school. And I discovered that this public charter school focuses on trades, and one of them was architectural drafting. Okay, this is great. They have kids that are interested in architecture. So we created a process to design the building that engaged the students. We set up an architect's office on the stage of their lunchroom. And we invited the kids at lunch to come up and draw and talk to us, and after school as well. So everybody could be involved. At the end of the day, the building was built, and the kids, they loved it because they own it. They helped design it. And as a matter of fact, a lot of them meet there in the morning. They meet up there before they go to the school, which is another building next door, because they participated. This is a prime example of participatory architecture. And the outcome is they love the building, but they also kind of protect it. There's no graffiti on that building. It's their building.